Hey, what's up guys? I wanted to jump on here and talk about NI's latest plugin called Circular, which is a sequencer, a polyphonic sequencer for contact and complete control, and tell you my thoughts on it because I was really excited for this plugin, but there's some things about it where I'm just like, not really loving it, and there's just a few reasons why I want to get into. But before I talk about what I don't like, I want to jump in and just talk about what Circular is and what it offers and go into some of the details for it. So if we jump over to Native Instruments website here, you can see it's the headlining banner on their website right now for Circular. And if we click on it, it takes us to Circular's landing page and tells us all about it. So it's all about evolving chord progressions into stunning rhythmic soundscapes is what they say. So it basically has over 100 experimental sources. I think there's like 168 in total, but basically felted pianos, prepared guitars, hybrid synths, bowed metal, and beyond is what it says. Circular comes loaded with 250 presets, but basically it's a way for you to build complex sequences with 4 independently modulated layers and real-time step controls shaped by aftertouch, which works directly with the Complete Control MK3 series keyboards. And then the little synopsis here, it says, Circular begins with a single note, but it never stays there. It moves, shifts, and evolves into a living cinematic sequence with 4 fully independent layers. Each step becomes a canvas, modulating pitch, filter, and effects in real time. What starts as a simple sketch quickly transforms into a motion-rich score, giving you the speed to compose fast and the depth to create something truly your own. So it sounds really cool. It sounds lovely. You know, flipping through here, you get to look at the layout of this plugin, which for me, honestly, that is one of the biggest kind of turnoffs. It looks so robust, but as I dug into this on a first encounter, it's just super complex. And I don't know. I kind of wonder if it's unnecessarily complex, really. So flipping through these other pages, this is effect controls, modulation. This looks like user samples. But yeah, so Circular, it is cool. It works well with their keyboards. I've tested it out. The polyphonic aftertouch is really nice. I like how it works directly with that. But when we start getting into the honest aspect of these plugins nowadays, and we take a look at the price tag, $199. Like, that's a pretty hefty price tag for a 4-layer sequencer. Not even a standalone plugin, but a plugin that works within Contact and Complete Control, which, you know, it's not a ding on it that it doesn't have a standalone like Massive X is, but $199 and no intro offer, it's kind of, I don't know, I'm not liking that. Now, like I said, I was super excited about Circular because this is the first non-piano library or expansion or leap expansion that has come out in 2025 from Native Instruments. So I was really stoked to dig into this and try this out. To be honest, as a first time encounter with this, I've had a day's access to it because we didn't get any early press release versions like we typically do. It just seems unnecessarily complex, and like there's better things on the market that are better priced and not so complicated. Okay, so let's jump back over to Ableton Live here where I have an instance of Complete Control pulled up. And let's just go through some of these presets because it does sound really good. I will give it that. Circular sounds great. And if we click through some of the presets, you can hear that right away. Okay, so as you can see, sounds really nice. These sounds are rich, they're high quality, they sound really good. But the first thing I thought was a lot of them sound so very similar and there's not a lot of differentiation between them. They all have a sort of vibe and flavor that kind of blends and melds into each other. There's not a lot of distinction between these presets. If we even go further down here and just click something at random, let's click Heat Mirage and see what this sounds like. That's like a stuttery effect, but it's still just, it's so very similar. Let's go hollow seconds. Sounds pretty cool. I like the deepness of the bass there. That one's a little different. Actually sounds kind of nice. So maybe it's just because it lends itself to being used for cinematic sounds, but a lot of them are just very similar. Now, when I first loaded this up, I loaded up the preset Air Synths yesterday. And it takes a while to load up. I'm not sure if this is just because, I don't know what, maybe it's just really an intensive plugin, but a lot of my other plugins that do something like this don't take this long to load. Okay, so we have Circular pulled up now. I'm going to engage the keyboard so I can play back this preset. And if I just put a key down here, sounds like the preview. It's cool, right? It sounds good. But if we go into the sequencer, right? If we want to like dabble with it and get into this plugin for what it is, this page is just so overwhelming. Yes, there is a ton of options to tweak, experiment with, and try out. But even after watching the overview video, which I think Venus Theory does a good job on explaining these new plugins and such, he does a good quick overview. It didn't give me enough to actually be able to break apart this plugin, take a look at what goes into the sound, and figure out what to do with it. Now, I can obviously deduce that this is the sequencer lane here, right? But like, there's just so much in this user interface that it's just overwhelming to the eye. It's unnecessarily complex, in my opinion. I mean, there is other sequencers on the market that I feel do a way better job of being more accessible than something like this. And if I just give you an example, UVI has this series of plugins called Quadra, and they're actually on sale right now. They're 60% off through, I think, May 19th is what I said. Yeah, May 19th. But each one of these series is essentially what Circular does, but with different vibes. They have a modular quadra, a traveler quadra, muted and harmonics, and metal and wood. And you can notice that each one of these is priced at $149 retail. Right now they're on sale for 60% off, so they're only $59 for each of them, which is a fantastic deal compared to something like Circular that starts at $199 and there's no intro offer. It's just kind of it's a bummer, honestly. And these plugins do essentially the same thing. If I click on modular here, it has a very similar description: creative 4-layer morphable instrument with advanced sequencers. Sounds a lot like Circular, in my opinion. If we click on the overview here, it says Quadra is a powerful 4-part multi-instrument and sequence designer ideal for creation of dynamic, rhythmic, and evolving sequences, utilizing an incredible selection of patches created on a wide range of modular synthesizers. And so this one is particularly for modular synthesis, but they have cinematic ones just like Circular does. And the layout of this just makes so much more sense to me. I mean, you got your 4 layers separated here. It's very visual. It's not just a bunch of words crammed together like we have with Circular here. I mean, the sequencer is just overwhelming. Like, I tried to play with it yesterday and really get into just one of these sounds. So if I solo this felt sound source here, like, I can hear that there's like multiple. If I click on here, I think this is where you can choose between having it polyphonic or an ARP for this layer specifically, but I don't like, I know I can drag this. Well, I thought I could drag this. See, I really don't even know how to use this. There's not an intuitive user interface design, in my opinion, for Circular. Like, I think you can, okay, so this might change the length of the loop. Okay, and then I can maybe change the timing. And then if I unsolo this, Okay, so there's some basic adjustment that is accessible right there, but there was another preset that where I was like, I couldn't figure out why, or how to change the sound. And it's just like I couldn't figure out where the sounds were coming from. And like, okay, so randomization, right? You think this dice would randomize everything? No, it opens up a window and it gives you like probability options, effects lane. Like I don't even know what this does. And like the overview says it's there, but it doesn't really break down how to use it, which is kind of a problem with a lot of promotional materials from Native Instruments. They have overview videos and introductions to their products, but they don't really have in-depth breakdowns of how you use this stuff once you've bought it, which is kind of frustrating sometimes. Like later down the road, they might have how to use everything inside of, Massive X or Machine, which they can be useful videos, but they don't give you actual use case scenarios for these different types of features and functions within their plugins. So if I click new variation, I'm going to assume it's going to randomize something. Let's see if it does. So we got this right now. Solo that layer. And let's hit new variation. Okay, it sounds like it did. But I don't know, it's just, it's like there's so much control within this unless you build this plugin or you're just like super adept to picking up really complex user interface layouts. It's hard to grasp. But then you compare that with something with like Quadra, where it makes a lot more sense for the sequencer function of it. And if I just click on this overview video, hey, look, it's Venus Theory again. Let's go to the arpeggiator overview here.
Have about as much control per step as you could reasonably want, with velocity linking the type, pitch, octave gate, repeating, and panning. We also have the controls here for the velocity, the
like, in my opinion, this layout for a sequencer makes so much more sense. You can see it and instantly digest what each function does. You have like a mode control up here where you can change the phraser or arpeggiator. It's just the design behind it, something like that, is just so much easier to grasp. But then you go back over to circular and everything just kind of melds together visually into one thing. And you're like, what does each and every nuanced drop down arrow, dice, not only that, each tab, like these are changing different things obviously, but like it's hard to grasp for my eyes. And I've seen other comments on the YouTube video for the overview say, this is unnecessarily complicated. And is it really worth it at $199? I don't necessarily think so, in my opinion, personally. I think you can get quicker results with plugins like Quadra and the series that they have here. And if you're not into modular synthesis, you can do other ones too. They got metal and wood, muted harmonics, and Traveler series. So there's a bunch of different instrument flavors and types that you can choose from to get different results faster and for less money at that too. Now this is similar to circular in that it works inside of UVI's own workstation or with their Falcon plugin, but the layout and feel and vibe for these just makes a lot more sense to me. I mean, just look at the sequencer here. This just makes sense. And then each sequencer has its own preset selector here. Now this looks a lot more like Native Instruments Play Series instruments. It's even more advanced than that. Whereas circular, it feels like it's a super robust, complex sequencer. And it is, but like you really have to spend some time digging into it. And I just don't know if it's worth the investment of time when you can get quicker results with something like UVI's Quadra series. And in my experience as well, the CPU on this thing is just definitely more taxing than other things I've used. Like, look, I put one note down and I'm already at what, 38, 40% CPU? That's just crazy. Look at that. It spiked up at 49%, 50. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't recommend it personally. There's going to be people out there that love it and, are diehard Native Instruments fans. And I am generally too, but this time I'm just like $199 for this plugin. I just can't honestly recommend it. Anyways, guys, I'll leave a link below if you want to take a look at the Quadra series, because I do work with UVI as well as Native Instruments. And when I think one thing works better than another and has a better offering, I'm going to plug it. You know, like I'm not going to just favor one company over another. I'm going to look at this constructively and critically and tell you what I honestly think about these different plugins. And I think the Quadra series makes a lot more sense, not only for getting the most for your money, but just like user experience, right? I think this series is better than Circular in my opinion. So I'll leave a link for the Quadra series below. It's 60% off right now. They're only $59 for each of the plugins, and you can pick and choose what you want. You don't have to get all of them, you know. But in comparison, I just think this is a better offering. And I really don't know if they like put these on sale because Native Instruments just dropped Circular and they wanted to compete with that. If they did, I think that's kind of a good idea. But I mean, nowadays it really does feel like companies just make plugins and then they bolster these prices up to $199 so that they can make sales on, you know, early adopters. Now, but not only that, just drop that price eventually and it look more enticing when it's on a 50% off sale and it's only $99 instead of $199. But when you really look at it, are these MSRPs really worth the tag that they slap on it? It's harder for me to really say they are nowadays. And not only are you looking at an investment of money, but an investment of time, really digging in and trying to understand how to get a sound you really genuinely love out of these products. Now, I love sequencers that inspire ideas, and I think that's what this is. And you do have a lot of controls over it with the effects, the mixer, the sequencer, and then this play page. But I think there's ways to get quicker results and not overcomplicate your process. I don't know, maybe they'll have some more videos in time and I'll understand this a little bit better, but I just don't think it's worth the investment of my time if it's going to be this complicated on a first case basis and then also take up so much CPU. And maybe that's why they didn't even give us a press release version, because, you know, in the past I've tried some of the plugins from them, and like one, for instance, Vocal Colors, that blew my ears out the first time I tried that on a press release version. And like, you know, everything's in development up to the last minute with a lot of companies. But like I even sent a full length email explaining how, man, there's something seriously wrong with it because it just has these crazy noise bursts. So they actually pushed that one back, and I commend them for doing that on Vocal Colors. But it just feels like these aren't fully developed and CPU efficient and really require machines now that are really powerful to run, because there's no reason why one plugin with nothing else in a project should be spiking a CPU up to 50%. Or up to about 50%. Anyways, guys, I'll leave a link below for the Quadra series if you want to check it out. It's on sale, like I said, until the 19th, 60% off each of them. Well worth taking a look at. I'll leave a link for Circular as well. I personally don't think it's worth it unless it goes on sale and we see some people actually using this in their projects in a way that just like really inspires some results. I'm not sold on it, but I'll leave a link for both of them below. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.